Here's how to make any car part into forged carbon fiber. It doesn't matter if it's a spoiler or wing or interior dash piece. So it's very simple. Let's jump straight into it. Now, we already started on the driver's side already, so I think basically what we did is we painted the door handles black to ensure that when we lay these carbon fiber sprinkles or like the cut up forged carbon, you can't see underneath of it because obviously the door handles were white before. So if you miss any spots, you can see the white right through. So we started out with spraying them black. We sanded them down with, I think, 200 grit sandpaper. We laid our first layers of epoxy resin, and then we sprinkled the forged carbon fiber on top of there, which was absolutely cool. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is that once you're ready to actually apply those forged carbon fiber flakes, and if you do want to pick them up, they're on Amazon. You can get a bag of the twill. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And it pretty much just comes already all cut up. That is the forged carbon fiber look. But anyways, after you get everything prepped and you're applying your base coat of epoxy resin, you need to mix it accordingly. So if it's 1 part epoxy resin to 1 part hardener, you really need to observe and actually mix those quantities together or the resin won't cure correctly. What you want to do is apply it to your part. So in our case, it was the door handles. We let it sit for about an hour to about an hour and a half before it reached a tacky state. So you can see in the video how the guy is like doing this with his fingers. It needs to be tacky before you actually put the fibers on. If it's not tacky like that and it's still too wet, the fibers will not stick properly. And then wrapped it up in some painter's plastic. So we're gonna go ahead and unwrap them and show you all what it looks like so far, and then get to sanding and adding more epoxy resin layers. We actually ended up leaving the door handles sitting there wrapped up in that painter's plastic. That's really optional. You don't have to do it. A lot of people use it. Basically, it's just compressing the fibers, making it a lot more uniform. But once again, you don't have to use it. Anyways, we let it sit overnight, wrapped in that plastic. Then we unwrapped it. And basically, we let it sit for so long because we needed it to cure. That epoxy resin really needs to get hard. So you wait 12 hours-ish, about that amount of time. And then it's pretty much just going to look weird and dry, just like this. But then you're going to add more layers of epoxy resin, which is a part of the process. So it's a lot of adding more and more resin, sanding it down, adding it, and we'll explain that in just a second. So like I said, we unwrapped the painter's plastic from the forged carbon fiber specs. That basically compresses it down and makes sure that all of that fibers and stuff sticks to the door handle real well. But what he's doing right now is laying the first layer of epoxy resin on top, wetting the fibers, and then what, 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours in between coats.
So 2 hours, 3 coats, and then we're gonna do a whole bunch of sanding.
Yep.
Are you going like super light on this or like medium coats?
Yeah, this is super light just to wet the fibers up a little bit. So there's a base coat of resin that they're stuck to, so they move around a little bit, but not too much. Wet it out 3 layers, 2 hours in between each coat. Let it fully cure, sand it smooth. If you need to do any more layers after that, start applying more top coats.
Just in case if you all were wondering which epoxy resin we're using, it's just this simple stuff from Amazon. So you don't have to use a specific set brand, but this is supposed to be mixed in a 1-to-1 ratio with resin and hardener. So that's why we've got the mixing cups. You mix it up and you apply it. So 2 hours from now, we will do a second coat on here and the rest of the pieces. And we're doing the other part of the door handles too.
The next day.
3 coats, 2 hours between each coat, and then 8 hours after the final coat, this is what it's looking like. I wanted to clarify this just in case if there was any sort of confusion of the matter, but pretty much you wait 12 hours with no resin on top, right? There's gonna be no resin on top of the actual carbon fiber piece that you've done, and it's just gonna be dry fiber. Then you apply 3 coats and space them out accordingly. So it's pretty rough looking, but that's okay because we're gonna sand it down with what grit?
Whatever this is.
It's like a 220 grit. Something like that. Hey man, where's your mask?
I don't know.
Pretty much what everything looks like when you sand it out. So now Carson's gonna prep it with some isopropyl and then lay 3 more coats of epoxy resin. This time there's only gonna be an hour between each coat, and I gotta run to Walmart real quick to work on Sally. I need to get a tool, so I'll pick it up once I get back and he applies those coats. Now these 3 coats that are done after you sand down the initial 3 coats are gonna be super light, so you don't have to go heavy with it. It's gonna be very basic. You just wanna make sure that you have actual, carbon fiber covered up once again with these final 3 layers of clear. Now these 3 coats that are done after you sand down the initial 3 coats are going to be super light, so you don't have to go heavy with it. It's going to be very basic. You just want to make sure that you have actual, carbon fiber covered up once again with these final 3 layers. Now bear with me, for some reason I lost a lot of my clips for this video. I literally don't know what happens, but after you finish up those 3 layers of epoxy resin, you're gonna wait 12 hours till it fully cures, and then you can do the last sanding process. You're gonna sand down the carbon fiber for the final time, and you're gonna start with a 400 grit and progress to a 600 grit. Once you move from the 400 to the 600, you're gonna stop and you're ready for a clear coat. That's what the door handles look like after some very generic clear coats. So once again, 600 grit is the last grit of sandpaper that you're gonna use. Then you're gonna do a clear coat just like that. We used a 2K, which is like super high quality stuff to ensure that these things are gonna be very glossy. That being said, we're gonna throw them back on the car. Hopefully the sun comes out so you guys can see the real result, because right now you can't really see how reflective it is. That gives you the general idea. So a lot of people also don't use clear coat. They can sand it down and then they buff and polish it. But the clear is always a good idea, especially in Florida because we have tons of sun. So it's going to protect that epoxy resin. Hey Carson, you want to share what you did with the lock?
Man.
He resined over it.
Intentionally. It's for the aesthetic. If I ever get locked out, I'm just take a Dremel to it.
Yeah. Toby, I got locked out of my car. Do you have a Dremel, by the way?
Bro, get the welder.
Yeah, I can fix that with my welder. That's what I'm going to say. Carson's also gatekeeping how he's popping them in without pulling the latch back with the fishing line. Come on, man.
A gatekeeping girl boss.
That is officially the last door handle going in.
Oh, wait, no, we got to hook it.
Yeah. Yeah, bud. You can get away with it on this one, eh?
Alright.
Do that quick little fishing line trick and it should pop in. You want me to pull it?
No. Perhaps not.
Let me think.
Perhaps not.
Just got to give the door trim a good smack. So I'm showing you all the final result, but like I said, we need the true sunlight because the carbon fiber looks dull and the clear coat doesn't actually glimmer right now. And it is super overcast, so we'll have to save that one for later. So like I said, I somehow lost all my clips. I apologize for the bad quality, but that gives you a general idea. With all the clear coat done, it came out looking really, really awesome. And honestly, there's a tons of different carbon fiber flake sizes that you can go for in the forged carbon fiber look. So Carson obviously went with a smaller look because he wanted it to look more compact, but you can get bigger flakes, you can throw stuff in it. I highly recommend trying it out. I mean, you lose nothing by trying it out. Won't come out imperfect the first time you do it or the first couple of times. I want to remind you all that Carson has been doing this for quite a long time now. He's done dashboards, interior trim pieces. I myself have done a ton of carbon fiber parts too, and I am not perfect at it. He's a lot better than me, but yeah, it just comes with practice. It's a very high skill, high patience job. All I recommend is that you follow the steps and you should get a pretty decent result. Obviously, if you watch other people's videos or other composite people, like professionals, they may have slightly different steps, but as long as you arrive towards the same common goal, that's pretty much it. I guess you guys know how to make any part in carbon fiber now as far as skinning goes. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. My next forged carbon fiber project is to forge carbon fiber the drag wing on my big turbo LS Swap New Edge Mustang. So I guess you'll have to stay tuned for that.